Okay, ready for a deep dive into something that probably gives a lot of us the chills? Math anxiety. You know that feeling, right? Like even just
Mm-hmm.
hearing the word fractions makes your palms sweat a little,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe full-on dread. When someone mentions algebra, you shared a fascinating article with us, math, and it really got me thinking about those like truly gut-wrenching moments we've all had. The article talks about bowels turning to liquid.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that's some imagery that sticks with you.
Yeah.
What is it about math that creates this almost universal sense of dread?
Well, it's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, it's not just a dislike, it's this visceral, almost primal fear.
Right.
And it seems to transcend generations. The article does a great job of highlighting that common thread across centuries.
Yeah.
You know, linking our very modern struggles back to those very stiff, unforgiving classrooms of the Victorian era.
Oh, for sure. That part about the way we were museum exhibit
Yes.
totally struck a chord with me. Imagine being whisked back in time to a Victorian schoolhouse. Slates, scratchy chalkboards, the looming presence of a very stern headmaster. I bet you could practically smell the fear in the air.
Yeah.
Do we have any insights into what those math lessons were actually like back then?
You've hit on such a fascinating point because I think those historical teaching methods are a huge piece of this puzzle. When we talk about math anxiety, imagine this. You're a young student in this dimly lit Victorian classroom. The air is thick with this pressure of oral exams. Rote memorization is the name of the game. Forget calculators or even scratch paper. You're expected to perform these intricate calculations in your head, all while facing the potential wrath of maybe a cane-wielding teacher. It's no wonder that math, for so many, became synonymous with this sense of humiliation and fear.
Oh, absolutely. Can you imagine the pressure cooker of those oral exams? Like, it's practically a scene out of Dickens with kids, trembling in their boots as they try to recall their multiplication tables. It makes you wonder how much of that fear was about the math itself and how much it was about the public humiliation if you got it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that toxic combination, complex concepts and very, very public scrutiny. And here's where it gets really interesting. The article makes this brilliant connection between those Victorian era anxieties and the kind of fear that some student teachers experienced when they had to debug code.
Yeah, when I first read that part, I was like, wait, what does debugging code have to do with dusty old school rooms? But the more I think about it, the more I see these weird parallels.
Right.
It's almost like our brains get hardwired to associate certain situations, like
Yes.
problem solving under pressure,
Yes.
with that same sense of panic, whether it's a math equation or a line of code.
Exactly. And the article actually argues that our brains, they don't always distinguish between different types of pressure. So whether you're grappling with long division in front of a stern teacher, or you're trying to find a missing semicolon in your code while, all your classmates are looking on, the physiological response can be strikingly similar.
Yeah.
The racing heart, the sweaty palms, the feeling of your brain just short-circuiting.
It's like our inner critic just goes into overdrive.
Yes.
And suddenly we're not just facing this like challenging problem, but we're facing this potential for, public failure and judgment.
Totally.
No wonder we feel that surge of anxiety. I've even noticed seasoned professionals, people at the top of their fields, getting flustered when they have to do simple math on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
It's like those deeply ingrained anxieties never really leave us.
You've touched on something incredibly important, which is this concept of generational trauma in education. And the article talks about how those negative experiences, especially those that happen in those formative years, can leave this lasting mark on our relationship with the subject. And it's not just about the fear itself, it's about how that fear can morph into this lifelong aversion to math, preventing us from really engaging with its beauty, its power.
Totally, yeah. It's like we internalize those early experiences and carry them with us, even if we don't consciously realize it. But here's a question that keeps swirling in my mind. If these negative associations with math are so deeply ingrained, is there any hope for breaking the cycle? Can we rewrite the narrative for ourselves and for future generations?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And thankfully, the article does offer a glimmer of hope. It talks about this new wave of educators who are taking this radically different approach to teaching math, one that really emphasizes curiosity and creativity and just that sheer joy of discovery over rote memorization and high-pressure testing.
That's so heartening to hear. It seems like the key is to shift the focus from fear of failure to a genuine love of learning.
Yeah.
Thinking about your own journey with math, was there a particular moment or maybe a teacher who helped it click for you? Like when it stopped feeling like this big scary thing and started feeling exciting?
There was this one teacher I had in, I think it was middle school,
Okay.
who had this incredible knack for weaving storytelling and even like a bit of drama into her math lessons. And suddenly, all those abstract equations weren't just numbers and symbols on a page.
Right.
They were tools for like solving real-world mysteries or understanding the patterns hidden in nature, even for creating art.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What a great example of how a different approach can totally change our perception. Do you remember a specific story she told that really brought a concept to life for you?
Oh, I vividly recall her teaching us about geometric sequences
Okay.
by telling us the story of a king who promised a clever girl a single grain of rice doubled every day for a month.
Hmm.
And, at first it seemed like a pretty small reward.
Right, like, okay, 1 grain of rice, 2 grains of rice,
Yeah,
big deal.
exactly. But as we started working through the calculations, the numbers, they just exploded exponentially. We were just astonished by how quickly that seemingly insignificant grain of rice could, like, literally fill an entire kingdom.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It shows how powerful it can be to tie those abstract concepts to something tangible, something that just sparks our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder, what if we approached all learning with that same sense of wonder and playfulness?
Right.
What if instead of shying away from challenges, we embraced them as opportunities for growth and discovery?
Absolutely. And I think that's really the heart of what this whole deep dive reveals.
Yeah.
It's not about like erasing anxiety altogether. It's more about reframing our relationship with learning,
Yeah.
especially in those areas where we might feel a bit stuck.
Yeah.
So what if instead of asking ourselves, why am I so bad at this? We ask, what would it look like to approach this with curiosity and joy?
Yeah.
How can I transform this fear into fascination?
I love that.
Yeah,
It's about shifting our mindset from I can't to what if I can? And
exactly.
approaching those challenges with a spirit of experimentation rather than self-doubt.
Yes, and recognizing that learning isn't always linear,
Mhm.
It's about embracing the messiness, the stumbles, even the occasional bout of, churning bowels, because those moments of discomfort,
Uh,
they're often the precursors to those aha
What
moments,
missing?
those
Oh.
breakthroughs that make the entire journey so rewarding.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. It's given me, and hopefully you listening as well, a lot to chew on. It's a good reminder that our relationship with learning, especially in areas like math, is often shaped by experiences that go way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, it's a call to action.
Yeah,
It's a challenge to rewrite that narrative from one of fear to one of fascination.
I love it.
So the next time you find yourself facing a challenge, whether it's a tricky math problem or a new skill you're trying to master, remember that story of the king and the rice. Approach it with curiosity, embrace the challenge, and just see what incredible discoveries await you on the other side.